Well, welcome to the DenCast, everybody. Tonight we have Tommy McKee sitting in with us. Tommy, thank you for being here. It's great to have you.
I appreciate you letting me come on and thank you. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, a lot of things to talk about with you tonight. I'd like to start with some of your background, I guess. You started out as I know you've been the football coach for Brimley. I know you've been the superintendent for Paradise. Then you moved over to Rudyard. Talk just a little bit about your past and background.
Yeah, so 2004 graduate from Rudyard area schools. Um, Took me down to Central. Enjoyed my time down there. So got my bachelor's degree in 5.5 years. And then was coming home the whole time. That was the plan. Got back and started teaching preschool at Rudyard. And with that, I always wanted to be in like early elementary. I didn't want to get into a classroom where the kids were taller than me or they were smarter than me.
Yeah, I
So
could totally understand
yeah,
that.
so I like that. It narrowed down where I could go. So preschool it was. Enjoyed my time doing that, and then bounced up to be an administrator, and got my first job over in Paradise in 2016.
Now, how long did it take you to go from from school teacher to school administrator?
For me, it was 5 years. It was
Okay.
always when most people when they get involved in teaching, they love the teaching aspect of it, and I do too. But I always got into teaching because I wanted to be an administrator.
Okay.
I like the politics.
Okay.
It's weird, but that's my jam.
Well, somebody has to,
Yeah,
you
that's
know.
right.
So I'm really interested in your time in Paradise because I've heard from a few people that have worked in that school system, and they everyone there wears a lot of different hats. You're not just a teacher. You might be a school bus driver and a teacher. You might be a coach, teacher, custodian. What were your primary roles in that school district?
Yeah, so they changed year to year, and day to day really. When I first started in 2016, we had 12 kids, 8 staff members, and so it was kind of crazy. I was on the road a lot, knocking on houses, recruiting kids, trying to get families to come back and show them what we're doing at the school. So fast forward 6 years, we when I left, 76 kids is what our enrollment was, and
So obviously the process was successful.
yeah, well, and I mean it's all credited to the staff. I mean we had a state of the art greenhouse. We had some teachers that came through that were with us for a short amount of time, and then we also had some just some amazing people that worked for the school. But while I was there, I would go up. I'd leave my house because we lived in Rudyard.
Hmm.
Leave my house about 3 o'clock in the morning and go up and plow in the winter. Check the roads, make sure that they were okay, and from there it was. I taught 2 classes of special education. I was the custodian for 8 months while we were looking for a new one. Uh, I got my bus driver certification so that I could drive bus. I know that the current superintendent up there does a lot of the same things. But most schools, most small schools, you do that to survive.
Right.
One, you're not going to find people, but two, it's if the kids need it, you're going to do it. So
Sure.
I mean, that's just kind of the mentality.
So how hard was the process of, you said you went door to door. How do you sell a family on coming back,
Yeah.
How do you do that?
Well, it's just showing them what the staff has. We did a lot of community nights. We did a lot of look at the projects that we're making. Look at the scores that our kids are having. Come in and meet the staff because at the end of the day, that's what they want to know. They want to know if are they going to put their kid in a place where people care about them. And so I carried that with me over to Rudyard.
And you'd said at one point, when we were talking before we started, that there was some question as to whether the school was even going to remain a school at one point.
Yeah, that's kind of what I walked into. It was like 12 kids in a K-12 building. So future was kind of uncertain. There was some community members that had other plans for the school district, and it was kind of my job. First year superintendent, principal, athletic director, and tasked by the school board to keep the school open. Um, so it was a challenge, um, but like I said, we had just great staff members. most are still there, and we built it. I mean, in that fast forward 5 years, we went to our community and passed a bond by 80%. So
Yeah, the fact that you went from 12 to 76 students is crazy. I
yeah.
mean, you guys must have hit the recruiting trail pretty hard.
Well, and I mean, I don't want MHSAA to get upset. We weren't going out and just getting athletes or anything like that, but we were getting
Well,
kids to come back.
I mean, and I'm not knocking Paradise
Right.
by any stretch of the imagination, but that is not what my first thought would have been with
Right.
recruiting.
Yeah. Well, I did coach basketball up there for 2 years, and then golf team for 2 years, and cross country for 1 year.
I
So,
did not even know Paradise had a golf team.
yeah. We actually one of the only schools in the state of Michigan that has a golf simulator. So
Really?
yeah, we that was purchased before I got there by the Booster Club,
Okay.
and the Booster Club was something that, I mean, millions of cans they sorted every summer. There was a guy, John Dreves, who he was a can man. They ran an ESPN special on him,
Okay.
and so there was money coming in from all over the country, and they set aside some of that money for individual sports, and with that, they bought a golf simulator.
Okay, so this is going to be a stupid question. Does the golf team play matches on the simulator, or do
No,
they play on a?
yeah. So they play out in in the EUP conference.
Okay.
So I know the last couple of years they haven't fielded a high school team. They've had junior high kids playing,
Okay.
but
What's
yeah,
what's considered their home course?
it'd be Newberry's
Okay.
Country Club,
All right. So what is it? Is it a co-op, or do they have their own team?
our own team.
Nice.
Yeah. So
Nice.
it was pretty cool. And as an administrator, you get up there, you plow, and you got an hour and a half before the students show up. Go hit a couple balls.
Yeah. Why wouldn't you?
My game got a little bit better. Still not good, but it got a little bit better while I was there.
So now, one other thing about Paradise that I pick on just a little bit. I've coached several basketball games in that gym, and that is a totally different experience than any other gym I've ever coached in.
Yeah, it's unique when the 3-point lines touch at half court. It is unique, and we had some decent teams coming through when we were there for our conference, the Northern Lights League, and you know there's not much of out of bounds, but then you have metal chairs lined around the out of bounds so that 212 people can sit in there.
Yeah.
It's pretty crazy. But Sheriff Bittner, leading scorer for Paradise Rockets, he played all his games on that court. He amassed 1,600 points in his career out there. So
Did he really?
yeah. So
I knew he went there. I didn't know he was that prolific a basketball
yeah,
player.
there was a lot of local people would let us know about the games they used to watch in there. And we always looked at it like, let's build the gym out, turn it sideways, knock it out, and build it a little bit further. But I mean, you're talking a couple $1 million, and it was just one of those like. But I know Vince Gross is up there now, and that's on his dream list, and he's doing a lot of great things.
Good. Yeah, the first time I ever walked into that gym, I honestly thought, okay, this is what do they call it? The auxiliary gym or the lunchroom or whatever.
Yeah.
Where's the gym? And they're like, no, this is it.
The gymnacafetorium.
Yeah.
Because that's where our auditorium. We have the stage up there, and then you have the cafeteria,
Mm-hmm.
and then you also have it used as a gym. It's a unique setup, but it worked for us. During my time there, we had to replace the floor 3 times.
Really?
Yeah, we had one of those Novembers, a lot of wind, a lot of rain.
Okay.
I got a call from a staff member who just happened to go into the building at 11 o'clock at night, and it's raining in the gym, is what he told me. So I drove back. One of the old 1940s drains that we had up on the top got all gummed up, and so it was leaking into the old vents.
Oh my gosh.
By the time I was getting there, ceiling tiles are falling down, ruined the floor. So we spent that whole season playing away games.
Yeah.
And getting that all fixed. Fast forward another year, same thing happened. It's just
Jeez,
one
oh,
of those.
Pete.
We thought we had fixed it, and it kept coming back to bite you. But
Okay.
it made it better.
Yeah,
So
yeah, definitely. So how many years were you there in total?
I was there 6 years.
6 years.
Yeah.
And I mean, the plan or the dream was always to get back to Rudyard, I'm assuming.
Yeah, since fourth grade. Since fourth grade, that was it wasn't only be at Rudyard and be in the school, but it was be the superintendent of Rudyard area schools. That was
Okay.
my fourth grade dream. I wrote a paper on it. My mom still has it somewhere, but that was it.
So one of a very few people to realize your lifelong dream at what age?
Yeah, 38
Okay.
right now. So when I took over at Paradise, I was 27, and according to Steve Gordon, who at the time was doing the hiring for Paradise, said youngest superintendent in the state, and then talked to around the state to different associations, and at that time I was not anymore. I've gotten old, but
You've gotten old, but you
right,
started pretty young.
right.
So how would you say your experiences at Paradise prepared you for Rudyard?
Yeah, I would say good and bad, and I'm my biggest critic. I think at Paradise, when I wanted to have an administrator meeting, it was myself in the truck on the way to and from school because I was elementary principal, high school principal, athletic director, transportation, right? Like everything,
Right.
every decision was mine. Um, so with that, you have the power and the authority to make decisions and make calls for the school, and like you're the end all be all.
So the meetings were basically you talking to yourself in the truck on the way.
Exactly. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Every morning we had one. And then you get to a bigger school like Rudyard, where we have 627 students, and then I have 105 employees, and 7 administrators.
Right.
There's other people in here, so I give up the power to make decisions, but the authority and the responsibility still kind of lands on me. So it's more of a managing people.
Well, it's got to kind of be nice too, though. I mean, you're getting some different input. I mean, whether you agree with it or not, at least there are options now. Whereas before, it's just you.
Yeah, well, and there was a lot of times where calling around, asking others like, "Hey, I have this going on. What do you think?" And we have a great community of school leaders up here that we have a
Hmm.
text thread, and everybody kind of bounces ideas off each other. Um, but yeah, now I have. I mean, I'm fortunate because I probably have the best elementary principal, the best athletic director, the best high school principal. Our food service lady is top notch, right? So we have some of the best people in our building, so it makes it easy for me.
Sure.
Um, but yeah, it's different because there are times where I have to actively seek out their input instead of just making this decision like I did for 6 years by
Right.
myself.
Right. So the job comes open at Rudyard. You obviously apply. Um, what was it? What did it feel like the day you got that phone call?
So got the phone call that night of the interview.
Hmm.
Um, walked into the interview early, looked around the school. It was, my kids went there. Or are going there. My wife is working there. She keeps the high school running, and it just felt like home.
Sure.
And had presented my plan, my ideas. The school board was supportive. Got a call about 9 o'clock that night, and it was bittersweet. Like this is my dream is coming true, and then at the same time, what we were building in Paradise was so awesome, and I was gonna miss that part of it.
Sure.
But yeah, it was
Well, it was just something you couldn't pass up. I would
no,
assume.
and that like since fourth grade, that was it.
Okay.
I have new dreams now.
Yeah. Yeah.
But keeping those close.
Okay. So you laid out your vision during the interview.
Yeah.
If you would share with me what the vision was.
Yeah,
And how close are you to reaching it?
yeah, it was simple. It was every student, every day, whatever it takes, right? So in that model, we have a community. It's 402 square miles, and so it's made up of 7 different communities.
Hmm. What are they?
So you have Kinross, you have Kinchlow, you have Fiber, Trout Lake, Dafter, Rudyard Township, and then a little bit of Mackinac County and Senigness, right?
Okay.
So it's a large community. Historically, it's been divided, right? So if you are a student from A, you were treated this way. If you're a student from this community, you're treated that way, right? And I grew up going through there,
Mm-hmm.
and I was, I'm a Kinchelo kid, born and raised on the base, and so that was one of the things. Like we're going to change that. Every student's going to get the best that we have every day, and we're going to do whatever it takes to make sure that we're doing that.
Okay.
And that was my vision. We're getting there. We're always a work in progress.
Yeah.
But we're just lucky because we have some staff members that have bought into it. Basically, all of the staff members that we have bought into it and are starting to live in the positive, which is what we want.
That's a tough sell sometimes. It's hard to get everybody on board with the same vision like that.
Yeah, yeah, and there's speed bumps and there's corrections and there's times where it's like, well, I know you've done it this way for 22 years, but we're not doing it anymore this way. We're going to transition to here.
Okay.
And yeah, ruffle feathers, but at the end of the day, everybody that we have there is there for the kids, and
Yeah.
that's what we want.
So of the million little things that you have changed, will change, one of the most visible has got to be the resurrection of the track. I mean, you guys were the mecca for track meets when I first came up here, and then there was a period of maybe I'm wrong, but I want to say close to a decade.
Well, it was about 20 years. 20
Oh,
years.
so okay,
Yeah.
so even longer.
Yeah.
That you couldn't have a track meet there.
Yeah, our track had experienced some hard times, and to get it replaced was going to be expensive. I feel bad because I was the guy that came in at the end, right? Like we're next to the finish line with the track project, and
Right.
I take the helm, and I just have to give it a little push. So I mean, there were so many people that did so much before I got there,
Mm-hmm.
and then once I got there, it was just getting the right community people in place, and again, Nick Hike, amazing. Norris Contracting, like that track happened because of him and the care that he put into it. And we're not done, right? Like we're gonna keep. There's a couple more layers coming that to that whole stadium project that I'm gonna kind of be unveiling soon. For our
Well,
kids.
it would work better for me if you would just unveil them right now.
Yeah, well, so we've been very fortunate seeking out different grants, and one of those is going to take our grandstands and press box and modify it and upgrade it to
Okay.
make it better. And then the next thing is currently we have that blacktop around.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to work on rubberizing that.
Really?
So everywhere that we have the blacktop, the high jump pit, pole vault, long jump will be rubberized here, hopefully in the 25 summer.
Okay. Now, will that also be a Norris contracting project, or are you taking bids for that? How does that
Yeah,
process
so
work?
everything we have to do through the bid process.
Right.
But Nick has been great getting us in contact with different companies that specialize in that.
Yep.
And I mean, just his support for all the area schools is amazing. But the way that he's kind of, we've seen him at half a dozen basketball games last year. He doesn't have any kids at Rudyard, but he just wanted to come out and, it was pretty cool.
Yeah. No, he has a true passion for high school sports and a genuine concern for the athletes that play them, and that's really nice to see with somebody who's in a position to help and
Yeah.
to give back. And yeah, we've got nothing but good things to say about
Yeah.
Nick as well. So
Yeah. Awesome guy.
So in addition to the projects you have coming up, you have also, along with what you were talking about with the grandstand and everything, you were just awarded a huge grant.
Yeah. We so every year the state budget comes out, and you have the governor's budget, then you have the House budget, then you have the Senate budget. Then they get in committee and they discuss it, right? And every year for the last 7 years, I've been watching those budgets and kind of combing through them, like the nerd I am. And I always see like East Lansing track renovations, 250,000. Westland schools, $4 million new auditorium. So I started asking questions. How do I get Rudyard area schools in there? Right? Like, why is there nobody from the UP? Why is it Grand Rapids? Why is it Detroit? Why is it Lansing? What do I have to do to get Rudyard in there? So I called down and was asking some lobbyists, and they're like, write a letter. Okay. So September 13th of 2023, wrote a letter. Every House member, every senator sent it down. Made 3 phone calls from then till Christmas. Was told some kind things by a couple of them. Stop calling me. We don't care. But then wrote another letter in February, and then made a bunch more phone calls. Went down there twice to bang on doors. I think I knew that we were going to get something. It was the end of May, and one of the people on the appropriation committee said, "If we give you something, will you leave us alone?" I said, "Yes, for a while."
Depending on the amount of the award, yes.
So this whole time, like, this is all a dream, right? Like, we don't. There's no assurances. There's no guarantee we're going to get anything. So we're working on a bond here in our community. So we take a bond out in May.
Mm-hmm.
It passes, right? Narrow margin, but it passes. So we have $3.1 million in safety and security for the school that we're going to upgrade. It's going to be awesome. We're riding that high. And then June 25th, get a call from Representative Preston. He was on the floor. It's about 11:15.
Okay.
So, he must have butt dialed me or something. He says, "Hey, I think we're gonna get your money in." I said, "Oh, okay. Like, thanks. Whatever you guys can sneak in there, that'd be good." "No, I'm gonna get you all of it." Because in my letter, I asked for $6 million for infrastructure updates. I said, "Okay, awesome. That'd be great." So I go to bed happy, excited. That committee ends at about 5 in the morning,
mm-hmm.
and then it takes about 2 o'clock before the House starts pushing it out. And sure enough, it's right there. Section 99, Rudyard Area Schools Infrastructure, $6 million.
So you saw schools getting 250,000, 400,000, and you hit the phone and say, "I want 6 million."
Yeah.
And they just said,
"What? You ask big, right? Go big or go home."
That's true, I guess.
So,
I guess.
But yeah, no, we had taken a look at what we wanted or what we needed for our students, right? We looked at, okay, so it took 12 years to save up $400,000 by selling brownies and T-shirts to fix our track. We also have some other areas of the school that we need to help update, and we're not going to be able to sell brownies and say, "Hey, here's a bake sale for water pipes." We need to update our water pipes from 1954.
That's a lot of brownies.
Yeah, a lot of brownies. So it went around, took pictures, put them in my letter, and sent it down there. Like, this is what we're going to do with the money. This is why we need it. You've already done this much for these other places. Don't forget about us up here.
Right.
So my hope moving forward is that because this is always going to be something that's in the budget, we just open the door for every other school in the Eastern Upper Peninsula, but the whole UP to get something.
Well, it sounds to me like the key is kind of being a pain in the ass, honestly.
And there's many things that I've been called on a regular basis, and that's one of them. Yep.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
persistent, right?
You give me $6 million, you can call me
Yeah.
a lot of things.
Exactly. Well, there used to be the $6 million man.
Yeah.
I mean, we're the $6 million school right now.
Yeah.
It's been great. I mean, there's some people that are not happy about it. In the community, for the sense that if I was working on getting that, why did I go to the community for a bond? And I mean, the only thing I have to say there is, like, I didn't know we were going to get any of that.
And I would say the odds of you getting it, I mean, if you were to break it down, you're looking at less than 1%.
Yeah.
I mean,
and we'll never see this kind of influx to our revenue again. I think.
Right.
So
it's a huge amount of money.
Yep.
Okay, but like you said, you have project after project after project. How do you guys decide? I mean, how does that process go?
Yeah, that's a great question. So as soon as we got it, one of the first things that I called my maintenance director, Ted Folkersma, and
Mhm.
my high school and my elementary principal, and those were the first ones that I kind of was like, hey, just so you know, it's gonna come out soon, but we got $6 million. We need to figure out what to do with it, right?
Yep.
So immediately, everybody's wish list comes out. Turf football field. Let's turf the baseball field. Let's turf the hallways. It was, and it was great because I wanted their input. I want everybody's input on, what's best.
Mhm.
And then we go back to our model. Every student. All right. So if we take and we were to put, 600,000 into turf in the football field, is that really satisfying every student's needs? Nope. Okay, let's lower that one down the list. Let's not cross it off, but put it down a little bit
Sure.
further. So then from there, we did a community survey, we did staff surveys, we did student surveys, right?
And how different were the priorities from each of those groups?
Yeah, it was great because the students wanted flashy, they wanted new, they wanted cool.
Sure.
Let's turf everything, right? For sports, new playground, um, expanded cafeteria area, more vending machines, things like that.
The fastest Wi-Fi known to
Yeah,
mankind.
exactly. They wanted the good stuff,
Yeah.
and that's great to have their input and to think like a 15, 16, 17-year-old for a little bit. Like,
Well, that's
yeah,
fun now and then.
yeah, absolutely. And then the staff had their priorities, right? Classroom upgrades, bathroom remodeling, things like that are functional everyday items that
Yeah.
that they deal with. And then the community had, a broader sense of, you know, we've been asked for money for roof sections in the past because there was a leak. Why don't you
Mhm.
put some of that money into the roofs? Why don't you do, fix the parking lots? Why don't you do, some of the, yeah, you're right, the homeowner things.
Right. Right.
And so then we formed a committee. First time we had a committee meeting, there was 27 people there. We laid out all the survey results, and then from there we had a discussion, and it was awesome. I mean, 27 community members gave up 2 hours of a Wednesday night to come out and
Yeah.
talk how to spend the money.
So as we sit here right now, how close are you guys to having that money fully divvied up and
Yeah,
spent?
last night was our second meeting, and we have come down to 13 projects that we're going to be able to complete. I'll present those to the board on Tuesday. Out of those 13 projects, we would spend just about everything but 200,000, and that's nice to keep that 200,000 contingency
Okay.
moving forward. So I'm going to present it to my board of education on Tuesday the 19th. Just kind of where we're at. We're also going to combine a little bit with the bond money that the community passed,
Okay.
and kind of go off that safety and security platform.
Okay.
And we'll get some economy of scale for the money. So,
Well, I can speak for Dave and I when I say that we are looking forward to your continued support for the EUP Sports Den.
absolutely,
Um,
absolutely. Well, I mean, you do great things. It's it's programs like this. It's what you and your wife are doing. It's what Dave's doing behind the scenes. But going and giving recognition to our kids. I mean, that was something growing up here, playing all the EUP sports, and that, you know, I don't know if you remember, maybe some of the listeners will, but the community voice.
yeah.
Jim
Yeah.
Jim McLaren,
I do remember Jim.
going out and writing articles, and then you always had that Thursday. You look forward to open that up, and did they say anything about me?
Hmm.
For me, like during football season, that's I was looking. During basketball season, am I in the? Did they get a picture where I'm sitting on the bench? They
Are
can
you
see
in the
me?
box
Right?
score?
Yeah, exactly. So
Yeah.
that was nice. But what you guys are doing is providing another generation of that.
And I tell you, it's funny. And thank you for that, by the way. Um, the thing I remember most about Jim is, when you're a small town media outlet like we are, you want to be careful. Like, you don't always say what's on your mind because you know that at the end of the day, you're relying on support from these people. So you don't say what you're thinking all the time. Jim McLaren was never burdened by that.
Nope.
I remember he wrote an article about, and he just blistered Rudyard schools over. It was like he didn't get a free popcorn when he went in, and I mean, he wrote 500 words. on the lack of a free popcorn, and it just blew me away that he was like that was his hill. You
Yep.
know, he was dying on that hill.
Yeah, he was a great guy. Growing up out in Kinchelo, and my dad being a police officer out there, Jim would always stop by to try to get things, and he always had a trick. He scared me and my brother when we were little. He'd take his teeth out,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And he'd walk over here, hold these. So,
no, I don't think so.
Yeah, no, we're good. But yeah, but I appreciate you doing that. I know, we lost Rob
Yeah.
a few years back, and so we've had a void, and so what you're doing for our kids coming up is huge. So thank you.
Well, thank you. We appreciate it. On to more pleasant topics,
Yeah.
I guess. You and your son are going to have a pretty, I don't know if it's unique, but it's definitely an interesting opportunity. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah. So Tommy, he's my son. He's a 15-year-old. He's in 10th grade. Tommy has autism, so he's tried sports, but they're not his thing.
Sure.
And as a parent, I've wrote several little things on Facebook through the years about finding that thing for your kid, and that's all dad really wants to do. And we found one of those things this year. He doesn't want to play football, but he likes being around the game, so he's been doing the chains, right? So every school struggles to find people to do the chains,
Mm-hmm.
The down markers and things like that. Every home game Rudyard had, Tommy did those this past year. A couple, except for a couple of the early ones, he had other things going on.
Sure.
But loved it, right? So Brad Bospis, myself, and Tommy were doing the chains one night, and Brad came up with the idea like, we should do a final. You should see if you can get Tommy to do a final.
Sure.
So, absolutely. So I sent a couple emails, made a couple phone calls, and got in touch with Mark Ewell. And so when 8-man finals happen up at the Superior Dome, Tommy and I are going to go up this year and have sideline passes.
Okay.
They already had the chain gang set for this year, but offered him to come up, be on the sideline, see how he likes the environment, right?
Yep.
Sometimes kids with autism have difficulties in crowds, and they're being sensitive to that. So I can appreciate that as a father. But next year Tommy will be doing the chains at the 8-man finals.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
What an
Cool.
opportunity.
Yeah.
Yeah. In addition to being a superintendent, I mean, you were an athlete in high school. I know I've played against you multiple times in men's league activities. You still take a pretty big interest in the sports scene at Rudyard High School, I'm assuming.
Yeah. I'm I bleed orange and black. You calling me an athlete, thank you. Some of your listeners are gonna question that a little bit, but I was.
Okay, on the teams.
Oh, yeah.
How's that?
There you go. That's better. But no, I've been a fan of everything Rudyard for since I was started kindergarten in the school district. And looking forward to this future. We just finished fall sports at Rudyard.
Yep.
Boys were runner up in the UP for cross country
Okay.
in Division 2, so a huge accomplishment there.
Sure.
Our girls lost in regional semifinals of volleyball,
Yep.
which was further than anybody thought they would make it.
Well, they really got on a hot streak especially when the tournament started.
Yeah.
I mean, I think Brimley had beaten them at least once and maybe twice in the regular season.
Yeah.
And I know St. Ignace beat them twice during the regular season.
St. Ignace beat them twice, and then Newberry, who they played the first round, they were 0-3 against Newberry.
Right. So
yeah, it was amazing. It was nice to see the girls starting to gel and what the coaches could do for the girls.
and you guys bring almost that exact same crew back next year for the girls.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Yeah, we lose 3 seniors.
Right.
They've been fun to watch over the years in how they grow, but like seeing the development of some of our underclassmen that are coming up,
Mm-hmm.
it's going to be fun for girls athletics at
Sure.
Rudyard. And then not to mention, I mean, my daughter's in there too, so she's an 8th grader, going to be a 9th grader. So it's going to be good. But yeah, I've helped coach softball as well, right?
Uh-huh.
I mean, if we go back to the fall sports, 4 and 5 for the football team.
Well, and a 4-5 with trying to figure out a lot of brand new pieces and parts in that, Jimmy started off the year thinking he wanted to go tailback by committee.
Yeah,
And it took him a couple of games to realize if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
absolutely.
I mean, Damon McDowell turned out to be better than, well, certainly better than I thought he could be.
Yeah,
But credit to him, man, because
yeah.
that kid was a horse.
Oh, and Damon, so Rudyard football has historically had that one back that could pound the ball, right?
Yeah.
30, 40 carries. And you had E.J. Sugget, who
Yep.
at the time was 220, 240 pounds.
Yep.
And then you had Cam Peterson last year, right? So, like, Cam was, 205, 210 pounds. And they could pound the ball, and they could carry the ball for 40, 50 times a game.
Yeah.
And then we fast forward to this year, and you got Damon McDowell, who's 160 pounds with his pads on.
Yep.
And we're like, oh, I don't know how this is gonna go. And we joke about it because he's a great kid. He doesn't stop talking. He's got the biggest sense of humor, but just a nice kid. Brightens up any room he goes into. But if he would have figured that out in the preseason, they would have made the playoffs, right? Losing the first game 8-0 to Gaylord St. Mary's was the
Absolutely.
one that came back and bite him. But I mean, he didn't have many yards that first game. Week 2 was rough over in North Dickinson. That's a long bus ride for the
Yep.
kids. But he figured it out week 3, and from week 3 to end of week 7, like he rushed for 1,600 yards.
Yeah. Yeah. He carried. I mean, he was getting 35 and 40 carries a
Yeah.
game in those contests.
Yeah. I mean, there was one game in there. I think it was the Senegnas game where he had 49 carries for 412 yards.
Yeah.
I mean, 412 is obviously a school record, right?
For sure.
As far back as we could look. He then injury bug hits and he tweaks his knee in Newberry after the first drive, and
Right.
and then it's just he's out. But he's playing basketball.
Is he really?
Yep.
Yeah, I talked to Jimmy, and Jimmy said he'd been trying to get him to come out for 4 years and couldn't get him to come out.
Yeah, I had a conversation with him. We made a little deal, and so he's on the basketball team now. So
I'm not even going to ask you what the deal was.
that deal would be between me and him and his parents, and we'll go from there.
Fair enough. Fair enough. So winter sports, girls basketball. You guys have. Sorry, but
Yeah, no. Yeah.
Rudyard girls basketball has been in a funk.
Yeah, historically terrible.
Yeah.
Right. So we have had a program that went from quarterfinals one year to not being able to field a varsity team that very next year.
Yeah.
So we have been in games where it's 97-7 at the end of the third quarter. So our girls basketball program has struggled, and the nice thing about that, everybody gets better when you struggle, right?
Mm-hmm.
Challenges, iron sharpens iron. It makes you better. But anyway, because of that, our younger girls have lived in the gym because they see that they don't want to have to go through that.
You guys have a pretty major influx of talent coming in with that freshman group, do you not?
We do, yeah. There's a young lady that is a pretty good basketball player,
Mm-hmm.
an even better person, but
Mm-hmm.
a good basketball player, and she spent a lot of time traveling around this past summer, playing for a Michigan Elite
Okay.
travel team, and in her fashion, you go up to her, hey Katie, how'd you do this weekend? Good, we were in Kentucky and we won. I said, oh, that's awesome. How did you do? Good. I said, well, how was the championship game? It was good. Best teams in the country, right? And we have a girl that's scoring 33 points and has 18 rebounds.
Right.
And just like not trying to be in the spotlight at all.
Yeah.
So Katie's going to be very good. That's Katie Galladay.
Yep.
She's going to be very good. We also have some other girls that are coming up that are going to surprise some people. Amelia Fountain.
She played really well in the volleyball.
Yeah, great setter.
Yep.
She's a basketball player too.
Okay.
And then we have, that 8th grade group who's been coached by Ray Galladay and Tony Jarvie for the last 3-4 years. They have some good girls on there, and we have some other upperclassmen that are going to come up.
Oh, good.
there's going to be somebody you see in volleyball quite a bit that's going to be standing down in the post now. So,
Really?
yeah.
That's interesting because that in the past that did
Yep.
not happen.
Yeah. So we're excited about that, and I think even more for me, I'm excited that we're going to have the opportunity to have a varsity and a JV program. Right. That's how you build a program.
Well, yeah, that's definitely sustainability.
Yeah. So we have that, and right now our 8th grade has 15 girls on it. Our 7th grade, they only have 9, but they are great athletes. So I mean, you're looking down the road, the future looks bright for
Sure.
girls sports, and future looks bright for on our boys side too, because for the first time in 2 years we're hosting wrestling meets again. Or I'm sorry, in 10 years for the first time we're hosting wrestling meets.
Why I mean, did you guys just not have enough for an actual team, or you didn't have the facilities to host a wrestling meet?
Yeah, so we've always had a team.
Okay.
But sometimes it was 2 wrestlers, sometimes it was a team of 3 or 4.
Yeah.
This year, the coach has said that he's got the biggest team that he's had in a long time, right? So he's got about 10 kids going out for wrestling right now. And wrestling is something that is great because it just it's another avenue for kids to express themselves and to be part of something.
Well, I mean, the more choices kids have in terms of athletics,
Yeah.
you know, you may get that fringe kid who's not a basketball player, you know,
Right.
but he might be able to wrestle a little bit, you
Yeah.
know. It's the more I'm a big fan of that. The more you have, the better.
Oh,
So,
and we so at Rudyard sometimes we there's some criticism that comes out from different places that we have too many opportunities, right? Because if you think about the winter, we have boys basketball, girls basketball, we have boys wrestling, girls wrestling, and we have swimming, right? And that's 6 varsity sports that kids have an opportunity to play.
yeah, and even though what I just said, I'm not gonna lie, I cuss you guys out when I'm typing in schedules because there's a lot of schedules to type.
Yeah, and I mean, we got to pat the back of John Krentz for years, because I don't think anybody has given as much to a athletic program as that man. And holy cow, he's got his hands full.
Yeah. Now, is any of that money that you guys got in that grant earmarked for upgrades to the pool or maintenance of the pool? I mean, you guys are the only game in town other than Lake State.
Yeah, we are looking at spending very little on the pool. We're very fortunate because this past year we entered into an agreement with the Sioux tribe of Chippewa Indians.
Okay.
And they have agreed to help the school $30,000 a year for the next 10 years. So a total of $300,000 to help maintain and keep the pool operational.
Wow.
I mean, we have 470 kids that go through swimming lessons every year at our pool. We teach lifeguards through our school. So it's our kids teaching the next generation of swimmers. I mean, we live in an area where you're 6 minutes away from big water.
Yeah.
People need to learn how to swim.
I would agree with that.
Yeah.
And it's weird because the Sioux has tried to make that very argument, and they can't get anything done with their pool. I mean,
yeah, and we've been very fortunate. I mean, it's been a lot of volunteers over the years, especially when money was tight. And then it's been a really strong commitment of a few key individuals that has kept the doors open. I mean, again, I feel like I'm there at the end where I'm kind of helping just kind of push it across the finish line with getting that partnership with the tribe. But, it's so needed.
Yeah.
And personally, it touches on that, students with autism or kids with autism are drawn towards running water, like the sound of it. So
Okay.
making sure that we have lifeguards that are trained, but also trained in the abilities and that kids are coming in with now, it just makes it that much better.
That's awesome. It sounds like you guys are really doing some good things out there.
Got a lot of great people. So
That's step one right there.
absolutely.
All right. Well, hey, we'd like to really thank you again for coming on the podcast. It's been great talking to you, and good luck with everything out there. And we'll talk to you again very soon.
Awesome. I appreciate you having me.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
And as always, people, the more you share and like our stuff on Facebook and social media, the better off we all are. As always, we want to get as many eyes and ears on this as humanly possible. So please, if you enjoy what you're hearing, and actually, I don't even care if you don't like it, please go out and share it so that other people can like it or not like it. That helps us all. Thank you very much, and we'll talk to you soon.